Good morning everyone. So in last class we have discussed about the complementary angles. So what do you mean by complementary angles? If you add any two angles, that should be equals to 90. So we can take it as 20 and 70. So 20 complement angle of 20 is 70, as well as complement angle of 70 is 20. So what do you mean by complement angle? If you add any two angles, that should be equals to 90 degrees. Now coming to next, that is supplementary angles. So already I told you about supplementary angles. So what do you mean by supplementary angles? If you add any two angles, that should be equals to 180 degrees. So the sum of two angles is 180, then we will call it as supplementary angles. So you can take the value as 20 and 160. 20 plus 160 is 180. So here supplement of 20 degrees is 160 degrees, and in the same way supplementary angle of 160 degrees is 120 degrees. So these two are supplement to each other. So what do you mean by supplementary angles? Supplementary angles means sum of two angles should be equals to 180 degrees. So on this topic we are going to start our exercise, that is exercise 3. Exercise 3. Which of the following pair of angles are supplementary? They have given some figures and we have to say that which angles are forming supplementary angles there. So first one is which of the following angles are supplementary? Supplementary. So what do you mean by supplementary? Sum of two angles should be equals to 180. So in that first figure they have given as 110 degrees and other is 70 degrees. So if you add these two, how much you will get? 110 degrees plus 70 degrees is equals to 180 degrees. So therefore the given angles are supplementary to each other. So therefore given angles are supplementary angles. So they are supplementary angles. Next one, and other angle is also 90. So 90 plus 90 will be equals to 180. So these two angles are also supplementary to each other. So here 90 degrees plus 90 degrees will be equals to 180 degrees. So the sum of two angles is 180. So we can say that these two angles are supplementary to each other. So given angles are supplement to each other, are supplementary angles. Next is so this is 50 degrees. This is 140 degrees. So these angles are forming the supplementary angles or not, we have to check. So 50 plus 140 is equals to 190 degrees. But what is supplementary angle? The sum of two angles should be equals to only 180, but it is 190. So they are not supplementary to each other. So given angles are not supplementary angles. So this is our first bit. Second one, find the supplementary angles of the given angles. So they have given only one angle. We have to find the other angle which is supplement to the given angle. the supplementary angles of the given angles. So first one they have given as 105. So what is the supplementary angle of this 105 we have to find. So already we know that supplementary angles means sum of two angles should be equals to 180. So given 105 degrees. So what do you mean by supplement? Sum of two angles should be equals to 180. So in that, one angle they have given us 105, other angle we have to know, we have to find, and it should be equals to 180 degrees. So 105 plus it will be 75. It is 105 plus 75 will be equals to 180. So what is the other supplementary angle? That is 75. Next is 95. So we have to find a supplementary angle for 95. So given 95 degrees, and also we know that supplementary angles means sum of two angles should be equals to 180. So for 95, how much you will add to make it as supplementary? That is 85. So 95 plus 85 will be equals to 180. Third one, 150 degrees. So for this 150, how much you will add to make it as supplement we have to find. So given 150 degrees. So already we know that sum of two angles should be equals to 180. So for this 150, how much you will add to make that as 180? So that will be 30 degrees. So 150 supplementary angle of 150 is 30. So you can write the sentence here. Therefore, supplementary angle of 150 is 30 degrees. As well as for this 2, you continue writing. So next, fifth to fourth one. So that is 20 degrees. So they have given us 20 degrees. So what we have to find for 20, how much you have to add to get it as 180 we have to find. So sum of two angles is equals to 180. You already know that. So for 20, how much you will add to make it as 180? So 20 plus how much will be equals to 180? That will be 160. So therefore what you will write here? Supplementary angle of angle of 20 degrees is 160 degrees. So this is our second way for finding which we have found supplementary angles of the given angles. Next one is third way. Two acute angles cannot form a pair of supplementary angles justified. They are telling that if you take any two acute angles, what do you mean by acute angles? It should be less than 90 degrees. So if you add any two acute angles, they are not supplementary, it seems. So we have to justify, we have to prove that. So here, what is the third question? Two acute angles cannot form a pair of supplement angles. So we have to justify that. So what is the question? Two acute angles cannot form a pair of supplementary angles. Justify. So if you take any two acute angles, so acute angles means it will be less than 90. So I am taking two acute angles as which two acute angles we can take? We can take it as 60 and 70. 60 degrees and 70 degrees. 60 is also less than 90 and 70 is also less than 90. So if you add these two, if you take two acute angles, that will not form a supplement angles. So 60 degrees plus 70 degrees will be equals to 130 degrees. So it is not forming a supplement angle. What do you mean by supplement? If you add any two angles, that should be equals to 180. So if you add any two acute angles, always it will be less than 180 only. So therefore two acute angles cannot form a pair of supplementary angles because sum of two acute angles is always less than 180. So if you take any two acute angles, if you add them, always the result will be less than 180 only. That's why two acute angles cannot form a supplementary angles. Next is last bit in this exercise 3. So last one, two angles are equal and supplementary to each other, find them. Two angles are equal it seems, and if you add them, that will be supplement to each other. What are the angles we have to find? So fourth bit. So two angles are equal and supplement to each other. Supplementary means sum of two angles should be equals to 180. Is equals to 180, and what they are asking, two angles are equal, they are equal to each other and also they are supplementary series. So whatever type of angles, they are 90 degrees plus 90 degrees will be equals to 180 degrees. So these two are equal and also they are supplement. If you add to these two angles, that will be equals to 180 degrees. Next is adjacent angles. So our next topic is adjacent angles. What do you mean by adjacent angles? Any two angles having common arm. This is a common arm here. So any two angles having a common arm, in this angle AOB, this OC is a common arm. So angle AOC and COB. So this OC is a common arm for both the angles. So any angle, any two angles or any three angles which is having a common arm and a common vertex, we will call it as adjacent angles. They are lying side by side and it is having a common arm here, and also it has been attached with only one vertex. So this type of angle, this type of figures we will call it as adjacent angles. So what do you mean by adjacent angles? Angles having a common arm and a common vertex, we will call it as adjacent angles. Next is here, OA is one ray, other is OB is another ray. So what are the two angles here? AOC is one angle and other angle is COB. So for these two angles, we are having a common point we will call it as vertex. So it is having a common arm and also a common vertex. So these type of angles we will call it as adjacent angles. They are lying side by side. Okay, next is on this we will start our exercise. So adjacent angles means it should be having a common arm and also a common vertex. So first one is, which of the following are adjacent angles? They have given three figures. So which are adjacent angles we have to find? Which of the following are adjacent angles? So already I told you about adjacent angles. Adjacent angles means it should have a common arm and also it should have a common vertex. So first figure is first figure I have given this. In this we are having two angles, and for these two angles one common arm is there. What is a common arm? This is a common arm for both the angles. This is first angle, angle A, and this is angle B. For these two angles we are having one common arm and also we are having a common vertex. These two angles are attached at one point, that is called as common vertex. So this figure is a adjacent angle. We can call this as adjacent angles. So these are adjacent angles. They are adjacent angles. Now second one. So this is a given figure. So this figure is adjacent. They are adjacent angles or not, we have to find. So what do you mean by adjacent angles? It should have a common arm as well as common vertex. So you are seeing a common arm here. So how many angles are formed? Two angles are formed. Angle C and angle D. For this angle C is having a common arm of this ray, and for angle D also this is a common ray. So this is called as, it is having a common ray and also a common vertex. So these two angles are meeting at only one point. So these we can call these two angles as adjacent angles. So last figure. So if you see this figure, it is not having, in this we are having two angles, but they are not adjacent. It is not having a common vertex. So they are not adjacent angles. So this is our first bit. Next is, find the adjacent angles from the figure. They have given one figure. We have to write all the adjacent angles. Adjacent angles means which is having a common arm and also a common vertex. So, what is the figure we will see? So this is the figure. So what is the question? Name all the pair of adjacent angles in the figure. How many pair of adjacent angles are formed? Why these angles are called as adjacent angles? Why they are called as adjacent angles you already know. Because it will be having a common arm and common vertex. And how many pairs of adjacent angles are formed we will write here now. So what is the first pair the adjacent angles are? What are the adjacent angles? First other. Next is BOD, this is one angle, and other is DOA. So I am taking these two angles. Now this is a common arm for both angles and common vertex is O. So we can call these two angles as adjacent angles. So angle BOD and DOA. Now last one, I am taking it as DOA is one angle and other angle is AOC. I am taking these two angles, so it is having a common arm and also a common vertex. So we can call these two angles as adjacent to each other. So what is the last pair here? Angle DOA comma angle AOC. So these pairs are adjacent to each other and they are called as adjacent angles. And also we know that why we call these as adjacent angles, because it is having a common arm and common vertex. So with